What happens when a nation runs out of land? What happens when an ocean, which is the very source of the survival of a nation, consumes you? This is the story of the 11,000 people who are living in an island which is soon to be consumed by the sea. What if I tell you this is going to be the world's first digital nation? That is, they are imprinting whatever is there in the island left, the trees, the sand, the road, the airport, and creating a digital nation in the metaverse. This is the story of Tuvalu, which is touted to be consumed by the sea by the end of 2015. To understand why they are resorting to such an extreme measure, you need to understand what kind of a tropical paradise this Tuvalu is. Tuvalu is located in a place midway between Hawaii and Australia. This Tuvalu is actually an atoll. What do we mean by an atoll? Atoll is formed when the volcanic island sinks. Suppose there is a volcano, there are a lot of corals which are formed around this volcano. Over millions of years, these volcanoes slowly sink. But as these volcanoes are sinking, these corals rise up and they form an island. So in atolls, what do we see is there is a narrow stretch of land in the middle where the volcano has sunk, there is a lake. This lake is made of salt water. So, an area of salt water surrounded by coral reefs which are forming land is called as an atoll. This Tuvalu is made up of 9 atolls and it is a country by itself with a population of 11,000. Ever since 1993, they have noted that the sea level in this region of Tuvalu has risen by more than 6 inches. What happens is the land which is surrounded by sea in all directions, slowly the water is rising up and consuming the land. This is not the only problem. The water they drink in this area is the water which is present in these lagoons, but it is not the regular water because it is made up of sea water. There are certain patches in this Tuvalu region where there is sea water which is denser, which lies down, and the fresher water being less dense goes up and people drink this water. With the rising sea water, it is mixing with this fresh water and people are having no water to drink. There is no major tsunami which is causing the destruction of Tuvalu, but something called as king tides. These king tides come in phases and they are actually flooding the houses and government buildings, and this phenomenon has increased in the past few years, and the people have understood that this Tuvalu island is going to sink. So, will a nation be called a nation if it has no land? This is the question which is there in everybody's mind. For a country to be called a nation, you need territory, permanent population, and a government. Tuvalu is at the risk of losing the number one criteria for a country, which is having a territory. If the land sinks in, where will these people go? Is the question in everybody's mind, and Tuvalu people have asked for help. But the main problem is if this country sinks, Tuvalu will lose its seat in the United Nations as a nation. Where will they go and ask for help if they are not even recognized as a nation? Another main problem they are facing is that only when land is there, the area around it, that is the ocean around it, they can claim ownership to that. One of the main sources of income for the Tuvalu's people is the fishing. With no land to claim ownership, they cannot claim ownership with the ocean around them, because of which their income source is also gone. Now, where will the Tuvalu people go? This is the question. This is something which we need to understand, that this is a human induced change. That is, the global warming, which is caused by the humans, is causing a global rise in temperature, which is melting the polar ice caps in Antarctica. What is happening because of that is there is a rise in sea level, and that is one of the main reasons why this island is sinking. And Tuvalu is a place which is contributing minimal to carbon emissions and global rise in temperature. They have not done any mistake. It is just a nation of 11,000 people. What they can do to the environment. But this is a typical example of what a mistake done by humans in some other country is affecting a country which has no relationship to it at all. And they have asked for help. And Australia have also agreed that under a treaty that they can allow 280 Tuvalu's people to migrate to their region. You have to understand that around 8,000 people, that is 3/4 of the population, applied for this 280 seats to claim membership in Australia. This is a telling tale that people in Tuvalu have understood that their island is sinking and they're asking for help. Though they don't want to leave that place. Imagine you leaving the place where you grew up, the street you grew up, the place where you had your first birthday. Of course, we have all migrated to different places, but we have a place to go back to. But these Tuvalu people, once they leave the island, in another couple of decades, they are not going to have the place where they grew up. They have a place with rich cultural history. There is a place where their first hero landed in a lagoon. There will be tales of people showing heroism. All that is going to be dead because of human intervention and global warming. So, what is the Tuvalu government doing to circumvent all these problems? They have done something ingenious. In the climate summit COP26, their climate minister Simon Cafe first gave a speech standing in an ocean where he was knee deep water, saying that this place was land once, now slowly water has come. In the following year, that is the COP27 summit, he gave a speech as a digital person. This is when the world understood that Tuvalu is doing something unprecedented. They are uploading each and every detail of their country in the metaverse. They are mapping every tree, building, road, airport to a metaverse such that they will have a memory of how their island was. Imagine a citizen of Tuvalu who was born in 2050 in Australia. They will give a VR headset to him and make him walk around to tell him that where he actually belonged and what he was supposed to have, but because of global warming, the sea level rose and he lost this island. This is something which is more emotional, that they are going to lose the land, but they are trying to protect it, to protect their culture for future generations. They are also documenting their history very meticulously, their culture, their food, their agricultural practices, how they fish, in a digital format such that they can pass it on to the next generation. The third thing they did is they are creating something of an online government. That is, the residents of Tuvalu should also register themselves there such that they'll be having a right to vote. They can be in Australia, they can be in USA, but still they will have a right to vote, such that this digital nation exists. It's a warning sign for all of us that we need to also change. Otherwise, the same situation which happened to Tuvalu can happen to anyone, any nation, maybe 500 years from now, 1000 years from now, but it will happen if we don't tackle this climate change. So, what are the lessons we are going to learn from this Tuvalu island sinking? The first thing is climate change is real. The global sea levels are rising, and that too it is because of us. We need to understand that the sea level is rising because of global warming. This global warming is because of the rising carbon emissions in each and every country in the world. Not single person is a culprit in this. All the nations in the world are a culprit, and we need to work collectively in this rather than pointing fingers at each other saying that your carbon emission is high, that's why the global warming is happening. We need to work as a team such that we play collectively, reducing carbon emissions such that we are not going to offer a permanent solution. At least we can delay the inevitable such that we don't contribute to this. If nature does something and a nation gets engulfed by sea, you cannot do anything about it. But if you do something and 100 years later it is affecting a nation, it is something you need to step up and act, and an act of an individual and as a team will have an impact in global climate. The second point is adaptability. The people in Tuvalu have tried everything. They have built sea walls, they have done land reclamation projects, but these things have not offered a permanent solution for them. That is, they are just delaying the inevitable. That is, one day their nation is going to sink, they are just delaying it, and they have now given up. This is a stark reality that we cannot fight nature. We can only delay the inevitable. Whatever we do, how much ever land we reclaim, if nature decides to take it back, it will take it back. So, the most important thing we need to do is make sure that our sea levels don't rise because of the activities which are done by us. That is, we should not cause global warming which is causing sea level rise. If it happens by nature, it is okay, that you cannot control, but we should make sure that we don't do it and we are the cause for it, and our future generations shouldn't suffer for the mistakes we do today. The third thing is we need to stand with Tuvalu. We need to give them their identity. Even though their island is going to sink, we need to stand in solidarity with them and recognize as a nation them, because even if their island sink, we need to give them maritime rights, saying that this is your place, you can go fishing there and you can survive there. In any nation, if Tuvalu people are there, they have to be recognized, and many nations should start opening borders because they are a small population of 11,000. You can actively migrate them before that country sinks to various countries, and in that way their people will also be happy such that they have another place which they can call home and they can bid adieu to their island. Also, you need to understand that they are constructing something called as a digital nation, which is the first in the world. We need to understand that if we don't act on climate change, all our nations will become a digital world in the near future. That is maybe 100 years from now, 500 years from now. That is not the question. So climate change is real and we need to act on it. This Tuvalu creating a digital nation is not a celebration of technology where we should say how far we have come. This is actually a plan B to something where we could have prevented by enforcing plan A, that is preventing climate change. This is a lesson for all of us that digital nation is not a luxury yacht, it is a lifeboat. And we need to understand that if we don't stop climate change now, this could be the future of every nation on this world. Do like, share, and subscribe me for more interesting videos.